Hello, everyone. Sarah Muirhead with Feedstuffs 365, and with us today with a midweek update, I guess end of the week update on the weather, meteorologist Greg Soulje. Welcome, Greg. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you much, Sarah. Nice to be with you here on a cold, crisp, but par for the course mid-January, midwinter day across much of the heartland and the Corn Belt. But things there will get better with a temperature standpoint in mind.
And hopefully a little less eventful than the last couple discussions we've had. So I'm going to throw up your slides here and let you get started. What's going on out there?
Well, first of all, let's take a look at some of the headlines going forward. Of course, it's been cold, a dash of snow from time to time, and that's been pretty much it. We haven't had any real big winder-upper storms across at least the Corn Belt and the Plain States, a different story farther south. But overall, pretty much a lackadaisical, easy to manage, except for the cold element on livestock. Weather pattern here for mid-January, midwinter time across the Corn Belt, the Plains, and areas of the Great Lakes region. Still some lake snows downwind in through Michigan. We had a fair amount of sub-zero and actually near zero cold this morning over much of the Corn Belt, especially eastern sections. And again, it's really a weird range. And we'll take a look at the snow cover map here. More snow on the ground still in some of those southern states versus maybe areas of the upper Midwest where dryness and drought continue to be the story. And we'll take a look at the drought monitor. And again, remarkable improvement from those organized rains back in December. Here's a quick snapshot of what's going on Saturday across the Plains and Corn Belt locales. A couple of little weak fronts coming on through, little dash of snow, some gusty winds, temperatures kind of moderating back to seasonal norms. And again, nothing too terribly impressive there. You do see, though, a breakout and kind of a different look to the weather maps out there across California and the west and southwestern states. Yeah, that little shade of green off the Bay Area down to the LA basin, or at least a little bit outside of there, and points to the east where snow is on the increase across the central and southern Rockies and what's been a very anemic and abysmal winter precipitation season. Typically, the winter moisture season, if you will, goes from about October 1 to the end of April. We've had it in the northern Sierra, the Cascades, the northern Rockies, but next to nil evident with the fire situation in the areas of Southern California. So that's sort of the Saturday weather maps. It charts cold, high pressure over the eastern and southeastern parts of the country. And so this pretty much leads to the next story here, Sarah, with, again, just a couple of weak disturbances we pointed out, a lack of significant snow cover. Now, we did have readings down below the 10 to 15 degree range a few mornings ago into parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. Virtually no snow on the ground there, no snow for that matter. And so once again, as Ori and Samuelson used to say, every year we try to kill off the winter wheat crop. We'll see what it has to play when it breaks dormancy. But again, that's a drought area too. So there may be a couple of issues with regard to winter wheat across the central and southern plains. And there is that snow cover map. And yeah, what do you see there, Sarah? You see more snow in Illinois and Missouri and parts of northeastern Kansas versus snow still on the ground in the Carolinas, Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, even with 2 or 3 days worth of melting, still an inch or two on the ground down there. And again, lack of any significant snows from a good part of Montana down through the Black Hills and east across Iowa, Minnesota, and southern Wisconsin. Then you pick it up quickly as you go north of there. So kind of a reversed look at the snow map here, which again still dominates the headlines over the deep south and southeastern parts of the country. And kind of wrapping it up there from a statistical standpoint, Milton, Florida, which is in the Panhandle, their all-time, at least the state's all-time record snow total dating back to 1954 was 4 inches. And in many locales, including Pensacola, almost 9 inches from that storm back on the 21st, doubling the all-time amounts down there. And of course, now it's ongoing frost and freeze. We have to see. I'm no expert in those citrus crops and sugarcane fields, but there's going to be a lot of cold weather-related issues and damage down there. Did you happen to see the? I'm not sure what feed it was on, social media feed, where off in the distance you could see. I think it was a stadium, a canvas stadium in Mobile, Alabama. All of a sudden, much like up there at the old, at least the Humphrey Dome.
Oh, the Metrodome when that collapsed. Yep, up in Minneapolis.
You could see that roof just collapse in Mobile, Alabama, because of the weight of the wet snow out there. So a lot of issues still going on in that particular part of the country. And again, the next couple of mornings, I think we have a panel here. You'll see the blues down there through Florida, the mid 30s all the way down to Frostproof, Florida. That's about an hour and a half drive south of Orlando. That's the north end of citrus these days. So we'll keep an eye on that particular crop too, as it applies to parts of Florida. Still, so lots of headlines still going on in that particular part of the country. Then through the western states, this is the last day, we think, of ongoing fires out there around the San Diego area. There were 4 more that was sparked up Tuesday of this past week. So this is the last day of this Santa Ana condition. There's a dramatic pattern shift getting going across the west and southwestern parts of the country, and we'll take a look at that here in just a second.
Yeah, that's good news. That's
Yes.
they definitely need that, and it's been something to watch. But even more, those pictures down in the south with all the snow. That's
Yes.
just something where you've got the beaches that are white, and then it's out into the ocean. It's just it's been very fascinating to
Yeah, I think I
see.
saw
So,
another social media posting from Destin, Florida, where
oh yes,
again, there was probably 6, 7, 8 inches of snow on the ground right up to the shoreline. The Gulf was amazingly calm, and people were remarking how still and how deadened the sound was out there because of all the snow cover kind of muffling everything out there. So but from my understanding, it was about a 24 hours worth of novelty, playing in the snow, making snow angels, snow forts, all that kind of stuff. And then the novelty wore off, I think, pretty quickly after that. So one for the books.
yeah, a lot of our industry is heading down to Atlanta this next week. So we would like the snow to be gone. And
Yes.
I think the temps are going to be up in the 50s. So we're kind of looking forward to that.
Yes, a nice recovery there. A little on the cool side, but signs of improvement out there. On to Sunday in the California rain, there's that weather system. It's literally going to go from, again, a drought and burned out vegetation. We're going to have probably some sense of debris slides, mudslides. Remember that vegetation is gone, and that system coming through California in the burned out areas is going to generate 1, 2, maybe 3 inches of rain, some higher elevation snow. So it's going to be one issue against another. Recovery from the fires, livestock operations certainly impacted there. San Joaquin, Imperial Valley locales as well. And now they're going to come up with rain. And you can also see rain breaking out on those muddy ground areas now of eastern Texas, bayou country, same spots that probably had a water equivalent in that snowpack of probably almost an inch. More rain coming on up. And so this leads to the headlines for next week and into the weekend. An inch or two worth of rain quickly across California, debris slides, mudslides, hillside breakdowns. That's going to be the story there. That system is moving into the deep south and southeastern sections of the country. So you may want to bring the wet weather gear along into Atlanta, and then cold weather continues over the southeastern sections of the country. There it is, Sarah. Bullseye in 2 areas. California, significant moisture again in the mountains of the Southwest, where moisture's been virtually non-existent this wintertime season. And that big bullseye of red is expected to be probably 1 to 3, maybe some spots 3 to 5 inches of rain. This will be an all rain system into Texas, the Delta region. And yeah, it's going to take an aim at run out there into the Southeast, including Atlanta later on for next week.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's better than the white stuff, but you can
It's better
share
than the
stories.
white stuff in
That's-
Atlanta. Yes,
you
we
can-
know
you
how to
can-
handle it in the Midwest. They don't quite know how to handle it as well down there. So
No. But my understanding is even when rain comes, because the way Atlanta is configured, it's everything kind of, I believe it leads in and out from an interstate driving system. I know from a radio colleague down there at WSB in Atlanta that rain is just as much an issue for those folks as snow is for the Midwest, amazingly. So I couldn't believe
Wow.
it when we were telling me stories. Whenever it rains, that's a big deal down there in Atlanta from a travel and traffic standpoint. So there's the spaghetti charts there. That top left panel is Monday. You can see the big old low, pretty evident, making its way through the Southwest Tuesday and Wednesday, kicking into Texas come late Wednesday, Thursday, and then it begins to drift northward. It's what we call a cutoff low, that ribbon of air that moves through Canada and the Great Lakes region is going to have a lot of wind, we talked about those wind issues in California, the Santa Ana ranges that hit 1,900 miles an hour. Well, the same thing can apply sometimes with the downslope winds out of Montana, Wyoming, the Canadian Rockies. So there'll be some headlines there. And that low, by the way, is tracking to the north and northeast, and it may bring a mixed bag of moisture maybe on your return late next week into areas of northern Illinois and the Corn Belt locales. And there's more of a surface-based perspective. You can see the lows coming through California into Texas, the Rio Grande, and moving, ultimately turning a little more into the Delta and southeastern states. We think there'll be, again, some moisture into the Corn Belt areas and southeastern and eastern plains late next week, but a significant rain event with probably some thunderstorms in Dixie for next week. Here's a quick snapshot of the 6 to 10 day outlook. It takes us into Groundhog's Day. Don't get me started there. I had enough of that from Orion Samuelson back in the day. In any event, milder weather. I hate to use warmer because there'll be wind involved. Hate when the local weather people talk about windy warmer, because it's not. Temps will moderate, but there's still a chill in the air. And here's a quick snapshot of a significant moisture getting going into the waning days of January, and more so first few days of February into the Pacific Northwest. That is a key drought area. And there is the drought map, by the way, Sarah, from late last week, with still issues, obviously. California, West Texas will be significant improvement there. Still patchy drought over the northern and central Corn Belt, and more so into the northern and central plains. So we think there'll be ultimately some relief in the form of snowpack and snow cover getting going in that particular part of the country later next week and beyond. And if you want additional details, check us out on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. We have that 4-week forecast that will take us to the last week of February. And we're not done with winter. We're not done with snow. I know it's been somewhat disappointing for some folks, but it's one of these La Nina years. So that sometimes means a little later arriving, compacted, but still somewhat intense winter season, and really no opportunity, we think, from this vantage point of early access into the fields, at least as it applies to the plains and Corn Belt. And I think we're going to go into the start of the growing season in very good shape, if not that, probably even a surplus of moisture in some of those drought areas. So we anticipate improvement first, obviously, with snow, and then down the line, those spring rains. So hang in there for the rest of the wintertime season. So that's the latest from the weather office around here. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, very good. We thank you for the update, and we'll be catching up with you again next week. We thank you all for joining us as well. Have a good weekend.